It was so completely covered because he had been beating kids with fucking wooden implements for so fucking long. At this point now in my life, we are up to so this is probably like the summer after second grade, and went with my dad to live with him, and in his little apartment where he had a roommate. And at that point, my mom and little brother moved from the duplex in Oregon City to a houseboat underneath the Selwood Bridge. And then, so I was living with my dad in Oak Grove area, which is not very far, really, but we would do the whole, I think it was like one weekend I would be with my mom and my little brother, and then one weekend my little brother would be with my dad and me. So I think that's how it worked. Like, apparently they do it differently nowadays, but that's how they did it back then. So I was in child psychologists from the time right after the shooting until like almost like when my stepdad and mom, like that whole thing dissolved, like when I was like 15 or 16. So I was pretty much not like constantly, but like going. So I guess it was more frequent and got less maybe. But in this, they threw in like testing because of that school. They like, okay, so he just went to this school, and let's see what he learned in second grade. Basically nothing. So I got held back and put into the second grade again when I was living with my dad, and that was in a school in Oak Grove. It was called North Oak Grove Grade School. Yeah. So in that school, now, so I started late because of my birthday. So like I was already older than most kids, and then now I got held back. I think before I was in North Oak Grove, at some point I was in Seattle, I think, because I don't think I left North Grove and came back, and I went from North Oak Grove to Milwaukee Junior High to Rex Putnam High School. So it had to have been before. Had to have been before North Oak Grove, but after Milk Creek. So in that school, notable things that I can remember from that school, I think that's like the first time my freaking mouth really ever got me in trouble, was the end of the second grade. This teacher had a shirt on, and the shirt said, "Pigs are precious." And he was just one of those teachers that would just be like, "Kids, do you know why kids are precious. Like, talk like a freaking slow motion cartoon or something, right? He's asking, why are pigs precious? Nobody knows. And so smart ass me just pipes up and goes, because you are one? And I actually think he said, what? And I doubled down and said again what I said. So the end of every school year, there was this giant play day where they had all kinds of games going on, like tug of war and sack races and just all kinds of stuff, right? Like the last day of school or last summer. Well, this teacher was like, you don't get to do anything in that day. You just have to stand there and watch, right? And I was new to the school. I mean, this was my first year in that school. And I started in that, I didn't go the whole year there. I was in Seattle to start that year. Maybe that was the thing. So, yeah, so that just kicked it off, and not a good thing when you gotta just stand, the only kid in the whole school that has to just stand there while the rest of the kids are doing all the fun stuff. And what'd you do? Oh, he called the teacher a pig. The teacher would have just said, hey kids, and this is the point of the pigs were precious, was something to do with diabetes or something, right? Maybe they were getting something out of pigs to keep people alive. Something like this. I'm not even sure, but I think it was something along those lines, right? Then, this is the kind of school too we had, where we literally had a teacher that had like a whole closet devoted to paddles, wooden paddles. And I mean, this was such a sadistic that he literally had a paddle that, the kids get to sign it. Oh, yeah. And, this thing, wasn't even able to be signed anymore. It was so completely covered because he had been beating kids with wooden implements for so fucking long, all the 70s and the 80s. I mean, I already talked about my grandma. I mean, straight up hitting her in the hand for trying to use her left hand when she was left-handed because some religious demonic shit, oh, you're a demon, beat the demon out of the hand. So yeah, this teacher was fucking psycho, sadistic, right? And I think I had pretty much avoided him or something like this, but then I started getting huge, not fat. I get a little chubby, and then I grow into a growth spurt. Get a little chubby and grow into a growth spurt. So I was so much older than the kids because I started late, then I got held back, that I was literally a giant person. Now I wasn't bullying anybody, I wasn't picking on anybody, I wasn't doing anything, and I don't really know the whole reason why behind, I think it was just like, my dad was like trying to, like, so in his mind, my mom and my stepdad put me in this stupid ass school that now I had to be held back. So he was on a mission to try to catch me up. And I remember when I first started living with my dad, he would, at home, sit down and teach me how to spell. I remember that, like a flashcard spelling, right? That was my dad spent some time. I remember spending time like this, right? And I'm most positive that my dad would have been he would have been probably somebody I referred to as a father, had the societal arrangements not been the way they are. You know, like society's arranged in a fucked up, oh, that's the way it is. Yeah, well, we could do a lot better. And you can look at the other playlists for the resource-based economy if you're interested on how things could be better. Because the stresses of capitalism are the majority of the problems we have, and uncontrolled breeding. But anyway, I digress. So my dad like gave it a go at the start and got me like spelling cards. My mom, on the other hand, like I just in like comparison, I don't remember her ever doing any sort of flashcards or anything like that with me. I don't remember. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. But she did buy me and my little brother these Texas Instruments Speak and Spell, which I don't know how good those things are, but you know, cutting edge at the time, so I guess that was something. So my dad tried catching me up. I don't think he liked the fact that, you know, his kid was held back. So halfway through my third grade year, so I went all the way through second grade in the Mill Creek school, and then I would have gone all the way through second grade, partially in Seattle, then in Oak Grove. Then in third grade, I started third grade. I went to Christmas vacation and came back and went into the fourth grade, effectively skipping a year's worth of curriculum. Well, there was a lot of crucial stuff, believe it or not, at the end of the third and the start of the fourth grade that I literally just didn't know. There was no, I wasn't caught up. I wasn't ready for that, you know. So at that point, I think school for me was just, you know, like freaking almost impossible. I don't even know how I took the GED test years later and just scored actually pretty high on it, and was completely like, how do I know all this crap? So now I'm in fourth grade, and I think probably right from the start I was my dad got me into Cub Scouts. So we lived in the apartment. He had a lawsuit going against my grandfather for shooting him. Apparently he got $20,000, but $20,000 in, let me see, if I was 8, I mean, it would have been like 79, 80, somewhere in there, 1979, 1980, somewhere in there. So that was a lot of money, especially for a guy that, you know, like, I think my dad, like, you know, the whole trailer thing, and then after that, then he went into, my dad went into the military, I think, like maybe the Air Force, but his eyes were bad, so they didn't send him to Vietnam or something to this effect, so.